Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Scouting Report. Now it's time to look ahead to return to midweek action with Cambridge United coming to town on Tuesday. We have Jordan from Under the Ivy Stand podcast with us. How are you doing, Jordan?
Good evening, Matt. Hello, everyone listening to this. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm doing okay, doing better after a rare win on Saturday, and I'll try my best to not bring the mood down by telling you how rubbish everything has been for Cambridge this season. But yeah, good to see you.
And you, mate, and you. If we kind of go back halfway to sort of to that game, I remember speaking to one of you guys, one of the guys from your podcast prior to that, and everything was kind of doom and gloom. And we just talked to me. We got very, very lucky with the win. But then after that, there was kind of a run of games, weren't there? 5 wins in a row in all competitions, something like that. And from afar, you kind of thinking, okay, maybe something's happened here. And then it didn't continue after that, did it?
Absolutely not. We didn't get our first win this season till the 10th game of the season. I think Rotherham at home was the 8th game, something like that. And we lost after you to Exeter. And the board came out with a statement basically backing Gary Monk, saying things along the lines of, the performances are better than the results. The underlying data's there. We've been unfortunate in games. We're very unfortunate to not get at least a point when we played you, for example. So the statement they put out was fair. And I think Cambridge fans at the time agreed with it. The statement ended along the lines of, by the 1st of January, we expect to be in a competitive position. Right. We got to the 1st of January. We lost at home to Bristol Rovers, and I think that defeat made us like 8 points off of survival places. We have now crawled that back to 6, so there is some improvement there. But they released a second statement not long after the start of the new year, backing Gary Monk again, which I think Cambridge fans found very interesting this time, because the difference between that first statement and the second statement has been quite a drop off. So you're right. After we played you at home, we then won. We lost the next game, and then we won 3 league games in a row, meaning that we finished with 10 points from our first 12 games. Okay. We somehow managed to do worse in the following 12 games from that, which is quite a feat. So it's not been great, but to spin a positive on it where I can, it is only 6 points between us and Northampton and Peterborough in those last 2 sort of places outside of the bottom 4. So as bad as it's been, we're not cut adrift yet. The season's not a write-off, and we've got a very difficult February ahead, which maybe by the end of that month we might have fully thrown the towel in. But it does feel like there's still a little bit of life left in the dog, even though it does look like a very big ask to turn this around.
Let's talk about Gary Monk. I was like saying, it's been a tough season. Is fans broadly still behind him? Is there question marks because of the few statements the club put out? Where do fans sit on Gary Monk at the minute?
It's such a peculiar one. I think earlier in the season everyone was on board, although there were definitely doubts around Gary Monk. He came in sort of March time last year. We got rid of Mark Bonner, who was a very successful manager for us. It nearly left us for you guys, if I remember correctly. Neil Harris came in, and Neil Harris did a decent enough job. He steered the ship right, and it was turning us into a team that was harder to beat, and it pulled us away from the bottom 4. Neil Harris then just ceremoniously left to rejoin his former club, Millwall. And I think that threw the club into bigger turmoil than perhaps we realised at the time. Yeah. I had a few games with no manager, no results, including sort of one against our local rivals, which was really disappointing. And then they landed on Gary Monk, and he came in and he didn't set the world alight. There was no new manager bounce that you normally hope for. I think his aggregate score for his first 3 games was 10-1 against us. So he wasn't coming into this season with the highest stock with Cambridge fans. It wasn't a lot in his short tenure last season to get behind. But the start of the season, we were playing nice football on the eye. The eye test was there, even if the results weren't matching it. So when that first statement came out, the fan base was very much on side with Gary Monk. And then it's basically gone downhill since then. But it is an odd one in that it doesn't feel particularly toxic amongst the fan base at the moment. There was talk about if we did lose on Saturday, would that be the start of it? I think there's a lot of apathy towards Gary Monk and the club, and I think perhaps I think there's a little bit of sort of disillusion as to why he's still got the job, but I think the anger and the sort of toxic feelings are less towards Gary Monk, but more towards a gentleman called Ben Strang, who's our director of football. And I think Monk, to an extent, has been a bit of a victim of circumstance. We had a very poor summer transfer window. We're on the 26th day of January, and we've only made one signing in this window, a new goalkeeper who incidentally got injured on Saturday, so won't play against you guys on Tuesday. So we're almost on minus heads in a window. But that's not just this last two transfer windows. I think it's one pretty much the whole time that we've been in the division. We've just not been able to get a correct strategy of what kind of squad to build, and have struggled to get players in that have made a difference. So yeah, I think Monk's he's not particularly liked. He's got a terrible win ratio for us, possibly one of our worst managers in terms of win ratio, but he's not getting the full brunt of it. I think it's more the operational side off the pitch that people are a little bit more disappointed about, and that's what they would like to see a change in the summer.
Yeah. Lassie, you pulled up the victory on Saturday. Was there anything kind of different that Monk did on Saturday to get that win, or was it just one of those afternoons where everything clicked for you guys? Just talk to me about the what you hope is a start of a run.
Let's hope it's a start of a run. We've had a couple of situations in this season where we've put 2 or 3 results together, and you've gone, do you know what? Maybe we've turned a corner, and then it's just not materialised. And yeah, we won on Saturday. We got a point away to Bolton the Saturday before, and we really should have won that game. We conceded an own goal in the 90th minute to go to 2-2. So we should really be looking at 2 wins on the bounce. What went well on Saturday? Well, it got nervy towards the end. We were 3-0 up, and it ended up being 3-2. And we were down to 10 men in sort of 8 minutes of injury time. So it got nervy, but for the first 60 minutes, it was terrific. And I think one of the big differences in both the Mansfield game on Saturday and also the Bolton game that I referenced before is we were able to get an early goal. In fact, we got 2 early goals on Saturday. One of the stories of our season has been we seem to start games quite brightly. We seem to have a good opening 20 to 30 minutes. But when we never capitalize on that, we never seem to get our noses in front and give us something to hold on to or sort of structure to the game, and eventually seem to sort of end up, petering out and the tide turning in the game, and we go on to either not win or not pick up any points at all. So I think a key one on Saturday was getting some early goals, starting to get a couple of heads back from the injury room, which is good. So that made us a little bit stronger on the subs bench. We were able to bring some players on. But yeah, Saturday was a real surprise, going 2-0 up and then getting a third pretty much straight after the restart after half time. So yeah, really, really encouraging signs. And I think the star of the show on Saturday was a guy called Josh Stokes, who was injured when we played you at the start of the season. And he's become a real key player over the last few weeks, brings that sort of creative spark, which we'd been missing. So I think he might be another reason why it went quite so well on Saturday.
And in terms of your overall style, can we expect a similar style of play from when we played you first time, which was very almost successful?
We're trying to remember now how we played against you guys, because when we started the season, the opening sort of 4 or 5 games, we played this really lovely, playing it out from the back, possession-based football, created lots of chances, but just wasn't scoring. And then at a certain point during that, we picked up a couple of key injuries. So Josh Stokes, I just mentioned, got injured. Shane Lavery, who was our sort of focal striker, got injured as well. And we started to go a little bit more direct. And I can't remember the style we played against Rotherham. I remember it wasn't a thriller of a game. So, it's changed a lot over the season, from being really pretty football to being quite direct football, and now it's somewhere in between. We've got a big guy up front called Ryan Loft, who will try and hit it too early and try and hold the ball up. But we do also have sort of ball carriers and creative people around him. So it's just kind of a hybrid from the 2 styles that we've had so far this season. I think we'll line up in a a variation of a 3-4-3 with Ryan Loft sort of more of a solo striker, and then two people playing behind him in that sort of 10 role. We've varied throughout the season from variations of 3-4-3, 3-5-2, and 4-2-3-1. So I think one of the other challenges that Monk's had this year is not fully knowing his best formation or his best lineup. He's been hindered by injuries, but that's only an excuse to a certain degree in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just wondering, how do you think the game's going to play out, and what would you think the score prediction would be for Tuesday night?
I'm not feeling particularly confident, Matt. We have not only the worst away record in the division, we also have a horrific midweek record. Okay. I mean, we beat Stevenage midweek this season, but I think that's like the first time we've won in about 2 or 3 seasons in midweek. We've got a really bad midweek record. I'm also worried about just how much Saturday would have taken it out of the players. I mentioned that we've got a few people coming back from injury, but they're not ready to start. The team looked quite leggy and quite out of it by the end on Saturday. So I'm worried that we might be able to do all right for the opening 45, 60 minutes, but I'm worried about the later stages of the game and just not having enough in the engine to keep going. I think we'll try and start brightly, but if I'm honest, I'm not expecting much on Tuesday night. I'm probably going to go 2-0 Rotherham.
Okay, fair enough.
Would love to be wrong though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we know about funny runs. We haven't on our away record. We haven't won it on 3 o'clock on Saturday for 3 years now.
Yeah. Although you hadn't won an away game for quite a while before you came to our place, right? So
600 days, 690.
Yeah, there must be something. There must be some sort of deal to be done there to return the favour.
Possibly. Thank you very much, and we'll pop the links in for the guys under the Abbey stand into our show notes as well. So do check those guys out. Thank you very much. If you are watching, thank you for watching. Comment below with your score prediction as well. Make sure you subscribe and give the video a thumbs up as well. We will see you all next time, and as always, up the Millers.